Greetings, children. This chapter is entitled Outcomes of Democracy. As we begin to wind up our tour of democracy, it is time to move beyond our discussion of specific themes and ask a general set of questions. What does democracy do? Or what outcomes can we reasonably expect of democracy? Also, does democracy fulfill these expectations in real life? We begin by thinking about how to assess the outcomes of democracy. After some clarity on how to think on this subject, we proceed to look at the expected and actual outcomes of democracy in various respects: quality of government, economic well being, inequality, social differences, and conflict, and finally, freedom and dignity. We feel that democracy is better because it promotes equality among citizens, enhances the dignity of the individual, improves the quality of decision making, provides a method to resolve conflicts, and allows room to correct mistakes. Are these expectations realized under democracies? When we talk to people around us, most of them support democracy against other alternatives, such as rule by a monarch or military or religious leaders. But not so many of them would be satisfied with the democracy in practice. So we face a dilemma. Democracy is seen to be good in principle, but felt to be not so good in practice. Accountable, responsive, and legitimate government. There are some things that democracy must provide. In a democracy, we are most concerned with ensuring that people will have the right to choose their rulers and people will have control over their rulers. Whenever possible and necessary, citizens should be able to participate in decision making that affects them all. Some people think that democracy produces less effective government. Democracy is based on the idea of deliberation and negotiation, so some delay is bound to take place. A government that may take decisions very fast is possible, but it may take decisions that are not accepted by people and may therefore face problems. The democratic government will take more time to follow procedures before arriving at a decision. So, the cost of time that democracy pays is perhaps worth it. Now, look at the other side. Democracy ensures that decision making will be based on norms and procedures. So, a citizen who wants to know if a decision was taken through the correct procedures can find this out. She has the right and the means to examine the process of decision making. This is known as transparency. If you wanted to measure democracies on the basis of such outcomes, you would look for the following practices and institutions: regular, free, and fair elections, open public debate on major policies and legislations, and citizens' right to information about the government and its functioning. The actual performance of democracies shows a mixed record of this. There is one respect in which democratic government is certainly better than its alternatives. Democratic government is legitimate government. It may be slow, less efficient, not always very responsive or clean. But a democratic government is people's own government. That is why there is an overwhelming support for the idea of democracy all over the world. Democracy's ability to generate its own support is itself an outcome that cannot be neglected. Economic growth and development. As you have already studied in economics, economic development depends on several factors: country's population size, global situation, cooperation from other countries, economic priorities adopted by the country, etc. However, the difference in the rates of economic development between less developed countries with dictatorships and democracies is negligible. Overall, we cannot say that democracy is a guarantee of economic development, but we can expect democracy not to lag behind dictatorships in this respect. Reduction of poverty and inequality. Do democracies lead to a just distribution of goods and opportunities? You see, children, democracies are based on political equality. All individuals have equal weight in electing representatives. Parallel to the process of bringing individuals into the political arena on an equal footing, we find growing economic inequalities. A small number of ultra rich enjoy a highly disproportionate share of wealth and incomes. Those at the bottom of the society have very little to depend upon. Their incomes have been declining. In actual life, democracies do not appear to be very successful in reducing economic inequalities. However, they do try to do so by giving equal voting rights to all the citizens, providing equal opportunity to all the sections of the society, ensuring social equality by protecting the rights of the citizens without discrimination, and distributing benefits to all the sections of the society. Do all democracies lead to peaceful and harmonious life among citizens? No society can fully and permanently resolve conflicts among different groups, but we can certainly learn to respect these differences, and we can also evolve mechanisms to negotiate the differences. Democracy is best suited to produce this outcome. A democracy must fulfill two conditions in order to achieve this outcome of peaceful and harmonious life among citizens and accommodation of social diversity. Number one, it is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply rule by majority or opinion. The majority always needs to work with the minority so that governments function to represent the general view. Number two, it is also necessary that rule by majority does not become rule by majority community in terms of religion or race or linguistic group, etc. Rule by majority means that in case of every decision or in case of every election, different persons and groups may and can form a majority. Democracy remains a democracy only as long as every citizen has a chance of being in majority at some point in time. Democracy stands much superior to any form of government in promoting dignity and freedom of the individual. Every individual wants to receive respect from fellow beings. Take the case of dignity of women. Long struggles by women have created some sensitivity today that respect and equal treatment of women are necessary ingredients of a democratic society. The same is true of caste inequalities. Democracy in India has strengthened the claims of the disadvantaged and discriminated castes for equal status and equal opportunity. There are still instances of caste-based inequalities and atrocities, but these lack the moral and legal foundations. Perhaps it is the recognition that makes ordinary citizens value their democratic rights. What is most distinctive about democracy is that its examination never gets over. As democracy passes one test, it produces another test. That is why When we ask people about the way democracy functions, they will always come up with more expectations and many complaints. A public expression of dissatisfaction with democracy shows the success of the democratic project. It transforms people from the status of a subject into that of a citizen. Thank you, children, for having the patience to listen.